Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday, we learned about the centripetal force and centrifugal force regarding the circular motion of object, which is actually considered to be part of rotational dynamics in our 12th standard syllabus. So, while studying centrifugal force, we study first the definition of centrifugal force, that is the force acting on object performing circular motion which is acting along the radius and away from the center. Such a force is called as centrifugal force. And one thing was given in your syllabus and every book, you must note that concept. The centrifugal force exists in non-inertial frame of reference. So today we will study what is meant by inertial and non-inertial frame of reference. So in last year, means in 11th standard, we study the definition, we learned the definition of frame of reference. What is meant by frame of reference? It is the system of coordinates of an observer to study the motion of an object. So what is frame of reference? Frame of reference is the system of coordinates of an observer to study the motion of an object. It is called frame of reference. There are two most important frame of reference, that is inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. Inertial frame and non-inertial frame of reference. So inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. So first inertial frame and then non-inertial frame of reference. So what is meant by inertial frame of reference? Very simple definition. The name itself suggests inertial frame. The frame of reference in which Newton's law of motion, that is first law of inertia given by Newton, is followed properly or it holds good. Such a frame of reference is called as inertial frame of reference. So inertial frame of reference in which the frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is applicable. In short, we can write the definition of inertial frame of reference. The frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion, that is law of inertia, is applicable or it holds good. It is called inertial frame of reference. Exactly opposite. What is non-inertial frame of reference then? We know that every body, if it is under displacement, it must follow Newton's laws of motion. So the definition of inertial frame of reference is referring to the Newton's first law of motion, but another frame is there, non-inertial frame of reference. Definition of non-inertial frame of reference is the frame of reference in which Newton's first law of motion is not applicable. Newton's first law of motion is not applicable. Such a motion is called as, such a frame of reference is called as non-inertial frame of reference. It is also called as accelerated frame of reference. And this inertial frame of reference is known as non-accelerated frame of reference. So how we can consider this non-inertial frame of reference? Let us see. I want to give one example. So suppose this is a pendulum. I hold this in my hand. If I move my hand in one direction, this pendulum also moves in the same direction. Such motion is called as uniform motion. in which the Newton's first law, that is law of inertia, is applicable, and this example also holds the same frame, that is inertial frame of reference. But now what happened? I move my hand with speed. Now you might have observed that if I move my hand with speed, this pendulum, it remains in one direction, my hand goes in another direction. The same example can be considered like a pendulum which is suspended in a moving train. If train moves in one direction with uniform speed, the pendulum also remains in the state of rest, that is vertical, and moves in the same direction. But if the train moves with acceleration, then the pendulum moves in backward direction. So this is example of non-inertial frame of reference. We are not able to explain the force acting on pendulum. So why pendulum remains in backward direction? This cannot be explained properly, and that is why this non-inertial frame of reference, the force which is present in such frame of reference, is also known as pseudo force. As per definition of centrifugal force, centrifugal force is the force which is acting away from the center on any object which is performing circular motion. The origin of that force cannot be explained, and that is why the force is called as pseudo or non-real force. So in case of non-inertial frame of reference, that non-real force exists which does not follow the rule or law given by Newton. So इनर्शियल फ्रेम म्हणजे काय, नॉन इनर्शियल फ्रेम म्हणजे काय, ह्या दोन छोट्या पण फार महत्त्वाच्या कन्सेप्ट आहेत. एखादा ऑब्जेक्टिव्हचा प्रश्न तुम्हाला त्याच्यावर पाहायला मिळू शकतो. इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्स, ज्या फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्समध्ये न्यूटनचा पहिला लॉ जो की इनर्शियाच्या बाबत आपल्याला माहिती सांगतो तो अप्लिकेबल आहे, त्याला म्हणायचं इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्स. त्याचे एक्झॅक्टली अपोजिट, ज्या फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्समध्ये न्यूटनचा पहिला लॉ, इनर्शियाचा लॉ अप्लाय करू शकत नाही, त्याला म्हणायचं नॉन इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्स. आपण जे एक्झाम्पल पाहिलं सेंट्रिफ्युगल फोर्सचे, त्याच्यामध्ये तो नॉन इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्समध्ये अस्तित्वात असतो. एकदा एक्सप्लेनेशन घेऊ आपण, तुम्हाला समजेल उदाहरण दिल्यानंतर की इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्स कशी, नॉन इनर्शियल फ्रेम ऑफ रेफरन्स कशी. सो कन्सिडर हियर अ व्हेकल विच इज मूव्हिंग अलॉंग द स्ट्रेट लाइन पाथ AB, and after point B it moves along the circular path. Its path is now circular. Up to point B it is straight, beyond point B it moves along the circular path. And here is a vehicle having number of passengers moving in this direction. There are number of passengers in this bus. It is moving along the path which is first straight up to point B. Beyond point B it is curved, means motion of object beyond point B will be definitely circular. So from point A to B it moves with constant velocity. If its velocity is constant, B equal to constant. What about its acceleration? The acceleration becomes 0, means it is non-accelerated. Velocity is constant. Up to point B it moves with 0 acceleration, means it is non-accelerated frame. At the same time, as there is no any external unbalanced force acting on the body, it remains in the state of rest or in the state of continuous uniform motion along the straight line. Such condition is called as inertial. This is inertial frame of reference. First, non-accelerated and inertial. Now what happens beyond point B? If it is moving with certain high speed, the same speed cannot be maintained by the driver of this bus beyond point B. He will apply some brake so that the speed will be reduced as compared to that of initial one. So beyond point B he applies brake. Now application of brake indicates that there is external unbalanced force, and external unbalanced force acts on body, then its inertia breaks. So that frame of reference becomes now non-inertial. At the same time, before point B it was non-accelerated, with constant velocity, but after point B it will move with different velocity, less velocity as compared to that of before point B. So if its velocity changes, what happens? Yes, the acceleration arises now. So here it becomes accelerated. So beyond point B, the same bus is said to be in accelerated motion or non-inertial motion. Now the main part of the example is why I am giving this example. Now if you consider yourself sitting in this bus, up to point A to B you will experience no any force, but beyond point B what happens? Now the bus is moving on the turn, the bus turns towards the right side. What happens to you or the another passenger seated in the bus? They will push in left side or outward direction. Is there anyone free to do so? There is no one free to push you in another direction. So why the passengers get pushed in another direction? There must be a force acting on the passengers or yourself. If you are as a passenger in the bus, that force has no any origin. You cannot explain that force, and such a force is called as centrifugal force. And it exists in which frame of reference now? Accelerated or non-inertial frame of reference. So this is the accelerated frame of reference or non-inertial frame of reference. So how centrifugal force exists or present in accelerated or non-inertial frame of reference. Therefore that force is called as a pseudo or non-real force. But what about centripetal force? Its reason, its origin can be explained. Therefore centripetal force is the real force and centrifugal force is a pseudo force. So this is the best example to understand the inertial, non-inertial, accelerated, non-accelerated frame of reference and how the centripetal force, centrifugal force exists in non-inertial frame of reference. Another example, you have observed many times that if your parent buy a new car, the process of that buying the car is completed by studying number of characteristics, number of various functions in the car. The main function for safety purpose is, yes, seat belt. What is the function of that seat belt? Generally we are not using the seat belt, but on the highways, if the car moves with very high speed, it is mandatory that everyone who is seated in the front seat of the car or any vehicle must hold it himself with the help of that seat belt for safety purpose. Suppose you are not wearing, the driver and the second person which is seated beside not wearing the seat belt, and that car is moving with very high speed, and suddenly some condition arises so that the driver has to apply the brakes quickly. What happens? The accident will take place and the person seated on the front seat will be pushed in outward direction. Why? The brakes are applied, therefore the motion of object or motion of person inside the car remains same in forward direction. Which force is existing there? Which force is that arises there? The origin of that force also cannot be explained. The same example can be studied in case of motorcycle. If you are sitting behind someone, the motorcycle is standing or it is at rest, and suddenly the person starts motorcycle and it accelerates the motorcycle so that motorcycle takes speed. What happens? The person which is seated behind that motorcyclist will move in backward direction. This force is also a pseudo force. So origin of this force cannot be explained, and such a force is called as in case of circular motion it is called as pseudo or non-real force, that is centrifugal force. So this is inertial frame of reference, non-inertial frame of reference. How this frame of reference exists in case of motion? This is the study of inertial and non-inertial frame of reference.